Welcome to the current events class. I am Sabbath Lafleur'S, and today I have the pleasure of having some of the graduates from ATLAH High School share with us today. They are in college now or are about to go into their master's program, and we'll talk about that in a minute or so. So I want to welcome everyone here today. How are you?
I'm good.
Okay, good. Now, I want to introduce our panel today, and I want to start with Esther Butler, who graduated from Fordham University. Hi, Esther. How are you? And then we have ATLAH Lafleur here with us, who is in her first year of Fordham University. Anna, how are you? Good. And then I have the $160,000 man, one of the members of the Give It Up group, Jeremiah Farr, who is in Adelphi University now. Jeremiah, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good.
Okay, so I want to speak to each of you today. Normally, I am speaking with the students from Great Tomorrows Middle School and ATLAH High School, and I thought it'd be interesting to hear from your perspective, having been college students. Or graduated from college with your bachelor's already, your experience during this time of quarantine is certainly in the age of the coronavirus, which is what we're dealing with now. So let's start off by, let me ask you, for those of you who are in college, how your experience has been going on, I think now 7 weeks of this quarantine, and your initial reaction to the coronavirus, not being able to go on campus anymore and having to transition to online school. Jeremiah, let's start with you.
For me, the change, it has been completely different in the sense of, so I'm taking biology courses, and to have to listen to my professor go through slides isn't the same thing as it is when we're sitting down in class where we can ask our questions and things of that nature. And I think the biggest change to me too, because with bio, I also have bio lab. And so to have to do labs online, it takes away from the hands-on lab that I was used to.
Let me ask you, what is your major? So the people out there will know what you're majoring in.
Currently, my major is molecular neuroscience, but I'm changing it next semester to music.
Okay, all right. And Anna, how has your experience been?
It's the online classes are kind of easier and then kind of hard, because say for my my composition 2 class, we usually see each other 3 days a week, but now she only assigned like one assignment for the end of the day, for the end of the week, which was all week. So basically we had all that time, and then we have like when I take Spanish, we have to do Zoom, and I still have to wake up like at 8:30 earlier, but I don't have to wake up that early because I'm a commuter, so I had to wake up like, I don't know, 6 o'clock to get there at 8:30, but now I can wake up at maybe 8 o'clock or so and just freshen up. So that was fun.
And what is your major, Anna?
I'm going to major in visual arts because it's the closest thing to architecture, which is what I want to do.
Okay. And I do want to add, I did not mention as I was introducing the panel, but Anna, as some of you may know, is my eldest daughter. She is the 16-year-old who Pastor speaks about, who has entered again Fordham University. So this is her first year. This is Jeremiah's first year as well. Now let's move on to Esther Butler, who has graduated from Fordham University. Tell me what your experience has been.
Well, I will say for sure that the quarantine has provided me with time to study. I'm actually studying to take the LSAT to get into law school. So it's given me a lot of time to be able to actually study, because when we're not in the quarantine, I'm volunteering with the school, and then I have 2 other jobs that I work. So because I'm in a realm where I'm working from home, I have a lot more time. I would like to go outside and see, it's not even going outside. I really want to go to church because I miss my family.
Right.
So it's just rough not being able to see you all the time. But other than that, this quarantine has been productive. I'll say that.
Oh, that's great. That's a great word. For Anna and Jeremiah, because you are no longer, or you have not been able to go on campus as you did daily, but prior to the coronavirus, what is that experience like? I know you shared with us the classes that you have to take and so forth, but that transition of having to be at home and not being able to go on campus, both of you have beautiful campuses. I've been on both. What has that experience been like for you?
Are you?
Oh, okay, I'll go. Well, I was really looking forward to attending like the spring campus events that they were gonna have, and like commuter events and everything, because I went to commuter week, and then I rode on a mechanical bull, and we had like indoor ice skating and things. So I was looking forward to doing more and more of those things. But little did I know that March 9th would be the last day I would be on campus. And now it's like, I don't know, being in a classroom, being in that environment is just better for me. And my calculus professor, he posts his videos, but basically I have to learn for myself. Like, I'm teaching myself. I mean, they're trying their hardest and I appreciate them, but I still have to teach myself and make sure I understand it.
And Jeremiah, what has it been like for you? You would drive to school, Adelphi University, so you would drive every day, and now you're unable to drive. How has that been for you?
Yeah, it's definitely been a change. When I was going to school, I was driving almost 5 days a week, and to switch that to have none, it's a big change for me. I think the biggest thing, like Anna said, I was looking forward to the spring semester and me talking to my friends and things of that nature, and the different opportunities that my school gives me when it comes to the different opportunities that they bring up throughout the school year that I could have went to.
What do you think about the future as far as your education dealing with this coronavirus? Esther, what do you think?
I don't think that education, as far as in-person contact, will ever be the same. Having graduated from Fordham and have been at Fordham almost my entire undergraduate career, I know that in the fall semester, orientation is a really, really big thing. Orientation is bigger than any other event on campus. I think the only thing that rivals it is the spring fling. So I know that they really want to get students engaged and get back together with, meeting students, meeting parents, and things of that nature. But at the foreseeable future, I actually kind of don't see it happening, just because there are so many different precautions that universities are going to have to take. And Fordham, to an extent, already has small classes, but keeping the students like actually separate, or keeping them separate in the library and things of that nature, I think is going to be a very, very difficult process.
Okay. And Anna, what do you think as far as going back to school on campus and seeing your professors and your peers on a day-to-day basis again? What do you think about that?
I'm really relieved because I registered for a drawing class and physics lab. And if I was going to have this drawing class and physics lab through my computer, through the camera, I would have been very devastated because I like to draw. I love drawing. And if I wasn't in that environment, then I would be very sad.
Now, before I get to Jeremiah, Anna, one of the things you shared with me is that some of the statements made by your classmates this semester, and you had stated to me, remember you were telling me about that some of your classmates said that if we have to do online learning again in the fall, that they would not be attending school again. Is that sum it up? Can you tell me exactly what they said again to you?
Yes, so in my last philosophy class online, the professor asked, "Oh, what readings would you like to remove? What would you keep? And how has this quarantine been?" And a girl said that her parents wouldn't mind; they would accept if she took a gap semester for the fall semester because of this quarantine. If we don't go back to campus, then she would have been without a gap semester. And then she said that a lot of her friends and a lot of students are considering this because they don't want to miss out on the college experience.
Right. So they're considering taking a gap semester is what they're calling it, which means that they would not attend school in the fall if they had to do it online again, right? Jeremiah, what do you think about when you think about your future as far as education in the days of this coronavirus?
So for my school, they sent out an email, I think a couple of days ago, saying that they're not sure if they're going to open up for the next semester, but they did say that if they were to, that they will have the precautions of everyone will have to come and wear masks and gloves and things of that nature. I think the biggest thing for me is, as I said in the beginning, how I said I'm switching my major to music. So, and my music has a great, my campus we have something called the Performance Arts Center where there's a whole bunch of instruments and things of that nature. So I think for me to switch over and to not be able to play and to have interactions with other students who are doing the same thing as I'm doing, I think that's really going to be hard for me to try to do that online.
Yeah, it certainly would. And you just touched on something that I wanted to ask you all. And that is, as your school has stated to you, that if they were to open back up in the fall, they would require students to wear masks and gloves and so forth. And I was watching, I'm not sure if any of you saw the Senate hearing this afternoon with some of the head medical persons in the field talking about the coronavirus before the Senate. And one of the things Dr. Fauci said was that, they were working on a vaccine, but that it's a far bridge. I think the way I when I wrote it down, he stated that the bridge is far for a vaccine to be ready in fall for college students. So though they're working on a vaccine, there's no telling that it's going to be ready. As they state that vaccines, it takes 12 to 18 months before they can have a vaccine ready. And even with that, they're not sure if it's going to work. So in regards to the statements that you just made from the email Adelphi sent to you, wearing masks and gloves, if they were to open back up, and this would go for you as well, Esther, because I know that you're studying for the LSAT and you're looking to go to law school. In general, if the campuses of these schools were to open back up, and I heard what you all have stated, but aside from the classes that you all want to take in person, like the music classes you just stated to me, and Anna, you said you want to be there for the drawing and so forth, would you feel safe or comfortable enough to go back on campus and to have in-person interactions again? Anna, let me ask you that first.
Not really, because Fordham is being used by the city. I don't know what they're being used as, either a testing center or something, but it's the fact that all of that was on the campus, so they need to really disinfect, not 99.9%, but 100% before I feel safe to be on the campus. I mean, I'm happy that we can be on campus, that's an option, but that's my health, and I have to be there every day, so.
Okay. And Esther, what do you think? Would you feel comfortable enough to be able to go back on campus, even if they did do disinfecting and then they did a thorough cleaning? Would you feel comfortable dealing with your daily interactions with people the way we used to?
No, and mainly because law school is very much a kind of it's very, very interaction heavy. So you have to talk to professors, you have to talk to people who you're networking with, and even though people have decided to not shake hands or things like that, I find it very hard to speaking over a mask or being in a crowded room with a whole bunch of other law students. And yeah, no. Okay. I'm too much of a germaphobe. I'm sorry. I can't. I can't.
Jeremiah, what do you think? Would you feel comfortable?
No, I wouldn't feel comfortable. I think that one, I'm not a big fan of people touching me in general, but I'm not really sure I'll be comfortable with someone talking next to me because again, the coronavirus is scary because you don't know you have it because you may not have the symptoms. So, and then I'm also afraid of just because they say everyone has to wear a mask and gloves, are people going to actually do it? Or are they going to be like, I don't want to, and things of that nature. So I think that all that goes into play when thinking about reopening public places again.
And so, what do you all plan to do? I mean, obviously, you have to continue your education, but if you had the option of working online as you do now, would you prefer to do that rather than to go on campus in September, or you are just going to take the chance and just take precautions on your end? Is that what you all are planning to do? What are you all planning to do, Jeremiah?
I mean, if they do open up my campus, I think I'll have to go. And if that was the case, then I would take extra precautions to make sure that I'm doing what I can, staying 6 feet apart, things in that nature. But if it was a preference, even though I would rather be on campus, I might rather staying at home more just because being at campus it's better to be at home and healthy to be at campus and then to catch something. So
yeah, definitely. And Anna, what do you think?
Yeah, being on campus is too risky. As much as I like strolling on campus, liked staying in the student lounges between my classes, even if Fordham says, "Oh, we cleaned it up very, very well," I can't just believe them. Like I wasn't there to see them really disinfecting things. I mean, these online classes have been interesting, especially because my siblings are home and they drive me crazy and they're loud. So it's like I have to shut the door, lock the door just to get through 50 minutes of a class. But sitting on campus, I might think about more about if somebody coughs or sneezes rather than actual paying attention to the teacher, and then there goes my grades.
So has this changed your mindset permanently as to your interactions with people, on a day-to-day basis or just in general? Has it changed your mindset permanently as we have gone through this quarantine now for the past about 7 weeks now? Are you ever going to go back to the way you used to do things, or do you think that you're looking at a new normal kind of way of dealing and interacting with people? Esther, what do you think?
I definitely think that I'm very off-putting with people I do not know, just because I don't know if you wash your hands on a regular basis or if you dig in your nose or things like that. So I'm very, very cautious, but I think now the new normal with the masks and the gloves is going to be different, especially because I am used to taking public transportation. And now, even the weeks leading up to before I self-quarantined, I did not want to take the train. I didn't want to take the bus. I didn't want to take cabs. I really just wanted to stay home. So I think what we're all looking at now, and for me personally, is just this permanent fixture in our in our brains of, taking extra precautions to make sure that we don't come in contact with people, or we make sure we're fully protected all over.
And what do you say to those people, as Jeremiah, you stated that you don't know if students are going to wear masks, even if they are required to wear them. What do you say to those people who don't wear the mask, or who don't wear the gloves, who don't take the extra precautions, but they just continue to, go around living life as absolutely nothing was going on? What do you say to those people as far as not making sure that they are covered in the precautions that have been given to us? Jeremiah, what do you say to them?
I think that it's a really dumb and inconsiderate thing to do. I mean, just because in your mind you think, oh, hey, I'm not going to catch it, or some people might think it might not be real. But I think that it's a very inconsiderate thing to do when you think about it, because you're saying that you're putting basically you're saying that, oh, my health is more important, which I do understand, but you're also saying that you don't care in the sense of you're not thinking about I don't want to say what ifs, but more the sense of you're not thinking of you can't catch it. And if you catch it, there's someone in your family can catch it from you and things of that nature. So they're not really thinking basically.
And Anna, what do you think?
If you don't come to school with a mask on, basically, what are you thinking about? Why are you coming to school after this quarantine, and you still don't come to school with a mask on? Do you really think that the air is that sanitary? Like, no. Before this coronavirus came and everything, the air was still not clean 100%. Like, when you go on the trains, I was always cautious before this coronavirus came, because people are just dirty. After this big virus that has killed everybody, to go back with no mask, that's just a death sentence, to be honest.
And what do you say to those people, Esther, as I'm sure you've seen people walking around without masks and so forth? What do you say to them?
You're selfish. That's it.
I can totally agree with that, the fact that you're selfish. So let's go back to the people who are not wearing masks, right? And let's go to Tribulation Trump, who is the chief idiot who is not wearing a mask at all right? When you see Tribulation Trump in the midst of what we're dealing with, and you all know that we're in the midst of the tribulation. I don't have to tell you all that. You all are aware of that. But when you look at someone like Tribulation Trump, who does not wear a mask, and you see people protesting who are saying that we want the businesses open again. We don't want to stay homes. You're infringing on our rights. We have the right to go out when we want to go out. We have the right to not wear a mask if we don't feel like we need to wear a mask. You're trying to take away our rights. And all of these deaths are inflated numbers. There's no way that hundreds of thousands of people have really died, and all these people have been infected, and this is just a ploy to take Tribulation Trump down, right? Because there are people who actually have that kind of mindset, as crazy as it seems. What do you say to those people? Jeremiah, what do you say to those people?
They're foolish. They're dumb. It doesn't make the thing that I can never understand. I mean, you look at the news, and every day this coronavirus news. Yeah, someone new. More people have died. More people have gotten infected. And I think that when you take that into consideration, they're looking at it. That the numbers that we see are not even the true numbers. That they're holding back numbers. So I think that when you look at all of that and you look at Tribulation Trump, it doesn't really make sense. The fact that he's not considerate to the fact that this coronavirus that is real and serious and that's actually killing people.
Certainly. Esther, what do you think?
Lord. The first thing that came, as you were speaking, the first thing that came to my mind was delusion. These people are so delusional, but I also think it speaks to the legacy that Trump has kind of built up until this point, the distrust of the media, the distrust of science, the distrust of doctors, the distrust of anybody who isn't on his payroll or isn't on Republican payroll. I think that right now everybody's up in arms and mad about, they won't let us out the house. I think that that is a symptom of the larger issue.
Certainly. Anna, what do you think about all of this?
There's only one question that comes to mind. Is Tribulation Trump a doctor? Is he a doctor? No, he's not. He's the one who said to drink bleach. And people actually did it. They actually did it. Seriously, because he's the president of the United States and he told you to drink bleach, you're going to do it? That makes no sense. But these are how ludicrous the Trump supporters are, which is, it's like they're hypnotized by his great and high and mighty self to actually drink bleach. Are you serious?
As young people looking at all of this, between the coronavirus, looking at Tribulation Trump, and now he has been the president in these past 3.5 years, and looking at everything else that's unfolding, how do you see the future looking at all of this? I'm sure that this is unexpected. It's certainly unprecedented for any of us, let alone young people. But how do you view all of this? As to how are you looking at all of this?
I see it getting worse. Like, I honestly don't. I think we've gotten to such a point now where even like just for argument's sake, even if we weren't in the tribulation, it would get worse. Like, it would get equally worse every day because the world has no true compassion, no true wisdom, no true knowledge. I mean, we're listening to a man who tells us to drink bleach and who's cheated on 3 of his 3 wives. Like, I don't understand where we are with morals. Like, this country is amoral, and that's why it's going to continue to go down. I can't see anything getting better after coronavirus. Sorry. And
Jeremiah, what's your perspective on all of this?
I think, like you're to say, I think that even if you look at the post-coronavirus, I think that there's nothing can get better. I think that if you look at Tribulation Trump and the way he acts, if he acts this way towards a deadly virus that's killing millions of people, imagine how he's going to act to something that's even more serious than the coronavirus. I think that right now America is not in good hands at all, and there's no up for me. It's only down.
It's only down. Anna?
It's like, America, what happened to you? Like, ever since, America has just been, I don't know, all over the place. But since Obama with the LGBTQ, and now Trump, and now this coronavirus, and now they're talking about murder hornets or something, it's just, it can never go back to the way it was supposed to be. It can never get better from now. It's going to be death and death and more death. And all we can do is just pray and not listen to Tribulation Trump, obviously.
Amen. Amen to that. We certainly need to pray. I think that we should take a break now. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back on the other side of this because there's some more that I'd like to talk to you about. Stay tuned, everyone. All right, we're back from the break. And again, I have sharing with me today some of our former students from ATLAH High School who are now in their first year of college and have graduated college, as well as we have in Esther Joanna Butler. They are sharing with us today. And I wanted to ask you all this question as we've talked about various topics in regards to the coronavirus. I wanted to ask you all, in between school, I know that some of you, for instance, I know that Anna, your last day of school was last week. I think you took your last final today. What have you been doing while you've been at home these past 7 weeks? Is there something, have you learned a new craft? Esther, I know that you shared with us that you have been practicing for the LSATs, but have you been doing other things to kind of use this time in a more productive manner? Jeremiah, let's start with you.
Yeah, for me mostly. So again, I'm a part of Give It Up. So we recently just dropped our EP. So basically, if I'm not doing schoolwork, like any form of schoolwork, then mostly I've been making music.
Okay, so you've been making music, and I need to mention that unfortunately we were not able to get Christian, who is the other member of the Give It Up group, to join us today, and we hope to have him on at some other time. So you've been making music in between doing schoolwork, and
Yes.
Anna, what have you been doing?
I don't know if you call this productive, but you can call it productive in terms of bonding with my siblings. Like, I've been so bored that I've been playing with dolls with my siblings. And we've been through a marriage, we've been through a pregnancy, we've been through death, we've been through everything. And we've used Barbie dolls and Star Wars dolls together to make a scene. So it's just, I don't know. It's great. They're still annoying, but at sometimes in the day, it's nice to bond with them. And then I've been cooking and making like cookies and things with my other siblings. And that's just a good bonding experience.
Okay, so you have spent this time bonding more with your siblings, right? That's what you're saying in a nutshell, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Esther, what have you been doing?
Okay, so during this quarantine, I graduated from Fordham with my BA in political science. And as all of you know, I'm very politically engaged.
Yes.
25/8. So I've really been taking the time to reach out to state senators in New York State and kind of gathering resources and information that I've been posting on my Instagram story about where low-income families can access free Wi-Fi or where they can get computers and things like that so their children can continue their education. So I've really been in the process of kind of trying to help somebody out while I'm in quarantine.
That's great. That's absolutely wonderful. I want to turn the corner. All right. And we've been talking about coronavirus for the past half an hour, but I want to turn the corner. And that is, all of you have seen recently in the news the death of Ahmaud Arbery and also Sean Reed, right? I was speaking to Machen Farr, who is the producer of The Manning Report. You all know who she is. And she said to me, we were talking about Ahmaud Arbery and that the fact that this was in the news. And, I said to her, well, this happened in February. And she said to me, well, if it happened in February, why is, there's so much news on it now? And, I said to her, it was the fact that a lot of celebrities and other people have brought it up. And I think she even mentioned the fact that she saw celebrity after celebrity just putting up the picture of Ahmaud Arbery and talking about what happened to him and that we needed to get justice for his death. But then in regards to Sean Reed, who was this 21-year-old Hamite male who was killed also by a police officer, she said, I didn't really see a lot of coverage about that. And she said, I don't know why. And I said to her, having looked at both, and having looked at Sean Reed, again, who was a 21-year-old, he spent about less than a year in the Air Force, and watching his video, which he posted on Facebook Live initially, and watching the mindset of this young man, I understood why it didn't get as much attention as Ahmaud Arbery. And that's the angle that I want to come at today. And that's what I want to talk to you all about today and see where you're at with this. One of the things in the Black community is that Black people don't really like to focus on their dirty laundry, should I say. And that is that we'll spend all kind of hours and days and time focused on blaming something on someone else, right? Is the white man fault this, is that, is so forth. But we won't really, or should I say they won't, as Hamite people, take the time to really look at themselves individually or themselves as a whole, right? So when I'm talking about Sean Reed, all of you have seen the Facebook Live video that he put forth before he was killed. And what it showed was the mindset, the state of this young man's mental state. And that's what I wanted to come at today with you all. Viewing that video, watching his behavior, his mindset, knowing the fact that he was killed by this officer, and there's some other circumstantial evidence that they say that they have, and you all know about that, and we'll get into that. But I want to know what you all thought when you watched this video. Now, think about it in this sense. Think about the fact that what if you didn't know that he was shot and killed by a police officer? Upon you viewing the footage from his Facebook Live video, what was your initial thought? Esther, what was your initial thought?
Looking at it first, I definitely thought that maybe he had some type of, like a mental breakdown. I mean, he seemed very, very frantic in the video. It was strange to watch. And he looked like he had a psychotic break. And then I realized that sometimes I think he had gotten to a point where maybe something happened. I mean, I'm just throwing things out. And he got to a point in his life where he just didn't care. Like, he didn't care about anything. He didn't care what happened here. He didn't care what happened to him, what happened to his family. It just seemed like he just didn't care. And it was frightening to watch, because it felt like I was watching in essence, his life deteriorate before my eyes. And that was it was strange.
Anna, what did you think upon watching this video?
Well, yeah, clearly you can see that he was some kind of mentally unstable, and I was asking the same question, was running in my mind, like, why are you running? Why are you still running? Just stop the car. They're not gonna shoot you if you stop the car. Just try to get through the situation. You keep running, that seems like you're hiding something, and especially because this is America, and because he was Black, because he was running, it was just, the situation was getting worse and worse for him. And then I heard when he said to his mother, like, he's sorry that she has to go through this and whatever. If he stopped the car and stopped having the police chase him, why would he? The question I was trying to get the answer to is, why is he apologizing to his mother? What is he apologizing to his mother for? Why couldn't he just stop the car and just talk and negotiate with the police?
Okay. And Jeremiah, as being a young Hamite man, watching another young Hamite man, what did you think about this?
I think for me, the first thing I thought about, I was confused. I was trying to figure out as to why he was running from the cops, like, why was he driving away? What caused him to say, instead of me stopping, I'm just going to keep going? I think that's the biggest thing that caught me. I think watching the video, you can see that he's recording himself, and they listen to music, and he's recording the cops that's chasing him at the same time as well. And I think that what really caught me and that I really understand was, why run? Like, why keep running? Like Anna said, because of the world we live in, being a black man and running from the police, that already doesn't look good for you. So, and then to keep going, and it doesn't make a difference. And so I think for me, I was just confused as to why he was doing what he was doing, I think.
And so one of the things I thought about, again, is for those of you who don't know the story of Sean Reed, who was a 21-year-old in Indianapolis who was shot by police officers and killed, was that he was in a car chase. The police officers were chasing him. And for whatever reasons, as you hear Esther and Anna both state that he seemed mentally unstable, was that he was glorifying the fact that the cops were chasing him. And he was laughing and he was blasting the rap music. Jeremiah, the music you're talking about, he was listening to that the hardcore rap music that was cussing and talking about guns and saying all kind of B words and all kinds of things like that, and making statements against police officers in some of the songs. He was glorifying the fact that he was being chased by police officers and saying they're not going to catch me, I'm not going to stop, and just laughing and carrying on, which would make one think that he had to be mentally unstable, right? Which is what you all are saying, because why would you do that? But the question I have for you, and again, I started off by saying that, Black people don't like to focus on airing our dirty laundry, and that is this is what I'm coming to. Because one of the things I noticed about this being in the news was that they spent a lot of time making the statements that he was a veteran, that he was in the Air Force, right, for under a year. But no one brought up the fact of his behavior that led to his death. The behavior that is just glorifying this kind of rap music, glorifying being chased by the cops, and putting all of this on Facebook Live for anyone to view. And I read a statement from one of his friends that said, well, he wasn't really like this if you knew him, but he just played that hardcore image on social media. So when we talk about social media, and again, I didn't know Sean Reed. This is what I've seen through the videos. This is what I've read from various people. His sister said, he made a lot of dumb mistakes. He did a lot of dumb things. He didn't think before he did things. And obviously you saw that in this case, which led to his death. But talking to you as young people, especially regarding social media, in the world, and you see the images that people portray on social media as young people. Girls want to take off all their clothes and they want to show that they're sexy and show their body parts, and boys want to put up this image of this hardcore thug kind of gang lifestyle, even if they're not in that lifestyle. Of course, many of them are. What do you think as young people in regards to social media? Especially as we're talking about Sean Reed glorifying being chased by the police officers. Anna, what do you think about that?
Well, with my generation, social media has become literally their lives. They're living like double lives. Like social media, they put up this facade of, oh, they're very pretty, or they act like this, they act like that. But once they're off the camera, they're like a whole different person. And it's just social media is really the world of deception, really, because people are not really truthful to themselves. They just want to post what they think the world will like so they can be glorified. And with Sean Reed, when he was trying to act like, I don't know, like some hardcore guy who listens to rap and everything.
Well, I do believe that he did listen to rap music, because he was rapping all of the words to the song. So obviously he did listen to it. And I'm not sure whether he was portraying an image. This is what someone who was close to him said. So again, we don't know Sean Reed. Maybe he was actually this kind of person and they didn't know who he really was. So we don't really know. But again, you said it, in a great way, that there is this, they're not really being true to themselves because they're trying to portray something to the world that they're not. And again, I'm not saying that's the case for Sean Reed or some other people. But let me ask you, Esther, what do you think about all of this?
I think that there are a lot of, watching the video, there were a lot of different things that I felt and that I thought about in my analysis of the situation. And one was that, first of all, social media has a very, very big or very, very large way on being toxic. I think being toxic toward others because you can hide behind your screen name or you could be a troll and things like that. And to Anna's point, social media does allow you to live a double life for people who do know you, for people who don't know you. I mean, you could be one person on social media and a totally different person online. Oh, in real life, sorry.
Right.
But I will say that I think that we as Hamite people, and I think that Hamite artists, especially rap artists, I think that music has a way of making you feel invincible.
Yes.
I mean, you can listen to a song, or you can listen, like a song has the ability to make you feel sad or to make you feel happy or to make you feel like you're the best thing in the world. And I think that when artists are creating music that have these really, really hardcore lyrics or that have these really, really horrible scenarios that they're pointing out, I think that it is to an extent the responsibility of the artist to be cautious about what they're putting out, especially for people like Sean Reed, who I believe was to an extent mentally ill and mentally unstable. We have to think about the music that we put out, that we let children listen to, because that invokes spirits on children that can cause things like this to happen. I mean, it's not the entire, I don't think that that's the entire solution, but I do think that it's part of the problem.
And Jeremiah, what do you think in regards to social media, hearing what Esther and Anna stated?
I think basically the same thing that they said. I think social media, like I said, is life of deception. People go on there and they're not being true to themselves as to who they are. And I think that looking at social media, people, they tend to flaunt this type of person that they think is what people want to see and what they know is going to be what they know that people are going to react to it in the good way. So them being themselves, they think that, oh, if I'm being myself, then no one's going to like me and then no one's going to talk to me, things of that nature. So you put on this mask and you say, I'm this type of person, that type of person, so that you get people to like you in that sense.
And how do you all stay true to yourselves? As young people, this is your generation, as Anna stated. How do you stay true to yourselves and not get caught up into that mindset? Anna, how do you stay true to yourself?
I mean, I feel like the main reason people change their ways on social media is because they want to fit in to the world. But personally, for me, I like being flamboyant. So, and especially if the world is not going in the right in the right way, like they're not on the right road, why would you want to be and do everything that the world is doing? I stay true to myself by not being influenced by the world, especially the negative things. Just staying true to yourself is by staying true to your beliefs.
Okay. And okay. All right. Hold that thought. I'm going to come back to that. Jeremiah, how do you stay true to yourself and not get caught up into all of this?
I think basically the same thing Anna said. I think that when people are putting on that double face for social media, they want to fit in. And I think that that's something that people, they love to do, fit in. Me personally, I don't like to fit in. I like to be different, from the way I dress, to the way I talk and everything. I don't want to be like the typical black man. I don't want to be like that, because the typical black man goes nowhere, does nothing with his life. I don't want to be like that. Right. So by staying true to myself, I try to stay grounded by just knowing who I am, what I've been taught by pastor and my parents, so that I know that I'm not like everybody else and I don't want to be like everybody else.
Okay. Hold on to that thought. I'm going to come back to that as well. Esther?
When it comes to social media, for me personally, I work very, very hard to make sure that the people who I am following and the people who follow me are people in a way I do not mind being myself in front of. I think that social media is another way where people try and, like, it's almost like accepting follow requests from people you don't know.
Right.
I'm very cautious of who I let into my social media space. And also, I mean, I'm not saying I have the best self-esteem. I'll put that out there, but I am comfortable in who I am. I'm comfortable in the talents that I have. I'm comfortable in how I dress. I'm comfortable in how I look. I may use a filter from now and then, but I am comfortable with who I am. And I think, to Jeremiah's point, is that we all have a pastor that if it looks like we go into the world, he gonna catch us real quick. I think that also, though, plays a major role. We all have fathers in our homes. That also plays a major role because, you know, if we get out of line because we're sitting there trying to be social media famous or fit in, we might not have places to live. I just think that that's it. I think that that's important.
Right. And that was going to be my question to you all. Hearing what you all had to say was that all of you have graduated from ATLAH High School. All of you have been in ATLAH High School since you were born. All of you, every single one of you have been there from kindergarten, all the way to the 12th grade. And my question, by the way, all of you have had perfect attendance as well during those years in ATLAH education. Interesting. But my question to you was, and we only have a few more minutes left, is do you think that having gone through the education in ATLAH High School, Great Tomorrow's Elementary and middle school, and having being members of the ATLAH World Missionary Church, having pastor as your leader, your spiritual leader, do you think all of that has influenced you to the young people that you are today? Jeremiah, real quick.
Yeah, it does. I think that if you're a young person and you're fully committed to being here, then you're already different from all the other young people in the world. I think that because to be here requires a sacrifice, like Pastor says. So I think that if you're a young person and you make that full sacrifice and that full determination to say that I want to be a member of the church, then already you're completely different from any other young people.
Well said. Anna?
I mean, thank God that we are grounded in this church and that we have been in this school since birth, basically. Because if we began our lives outside of this church in the world, we would be just like them. Like Jeremiah would be the typical Black man, and me and Esther would be the typical Black woman. We would be very crazy and bizarre. And by staying in this church, you are able to not be influenced by the world, because the church's influence is way bigger than the world. And with the world, with this LGBTQ and all of these things, even though the church is not very popular in the sense of that we have a lot of followers, it's still the fact that we are right and the world is just wrong, and nobody seems to understand that.
Praise God. Well said. Esther?
Yeah, to piggyback off of Jeremiah and Anna, yes, the church plays a major role. When Jeremiah said that, you know, by us even being committed to the church, that already sets us apart from everyone else. I mean, right. I know me personally, during my school years, I had friends who were in the church at the time who, you know, really wanted that life, that outside lifestyle or whatever. And seeing the path that it led them down, I said, let me go the other way. I think that is very easy to get caught up in the broad way where people do whatever they want, but to be able to have the discipline and the focus and the commitment to stay on the straight and narrow,
right?
I mean, that definitely sets us apart from everyone else.
And that discipline, as you just stated, to stay on the straight and narrow, is that how you resist the temptations?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. Like, it's difficult. I'm not even gonna lie to anyone and say, oh, it's been easy. Like, no, it's hard. It's hard. But at the end of the day, you have to look at the entire picture, which is the goals that you have for your life. Or, you know, if your end goal is to now live in the 1,000-year reign of peace, or to go and meet Jesus, you have to think, is all the fun and games and debauchery worth it if I don't get to my end goal of meeting Jesus? Like, you have to tell yourself the truth. And if you don't do that, then you end up falling by the wayside.
Absolutely. So let me ask you this last question. What is it that you are looking to do in your future, for the future of ATLAH? As all of you have stated, your commitment to the house of the Lord and to the work that God has in store for us. What is in your future? What is your part, the part that you play? What is your contribution is a better way to put it, to the future that God has for us? Jeremiah, what is your contribution?
I think in the future for me planning on being a world-known musician, I think the biggest thing for me is when I do accomplish my goal is to always remember, one, where I've come from and who helped me, and then to come back and to give back to the school, give back to the church, because anything I will do or anything I have done right now is because of the church. So I plan on giving back any way I can. The biggest thing for me, I think, especially because I like music, I'm thinking about, I think Pastor said that he wanted to open up his own school of dancing. So I wanted to help in any way I can, participating in that when I get older. And it's basically anything I can to give back, basically.
Okay, that's great. Anna, what is your contribution to the future of ATLAH?
Well, I'll be becoming an architect, so my contribution will be designing like our schools. Like our school now is in the church, which is a great thing. But to have like 3 different schools, because after when everybody begins to awaken and see like the light and God, more people will enroll in the school. So we'll have 3 schools. We'll have one whole elementary school, a middle school, and a high school. And we'll have college, ATLAH University. Right. So it would be like my contribution to design it. And also the tribulation, a lot of things are going to be damaged and collapsed. So I basically have to work hard to build everything back up, which is a lot, but I'm not going to be intimidated because Amen. I can do it.
Amen. Amen. Praise the Lord. And Esther, what is your contribution?
I think right now in this space, I'm looking forward to helping Pastor with, you know, all of the legal things that we take on and that he deals with as a whole, and just making sure that I'm there in whatever capacity he needs me in. I think would be a better response to this question, mainly because, you know, I'm in between politics and law. So I want to make sure that, you know, if Pastor needs me to, you know, write out a legal brief, that I can be that for him, or if the church needs a lawyer to represent them, that I can be that for them. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Well, praise God. It's been a blessing speaking with you all today. So thank you all for sharing with me today. I pray that you all continue to stay safe and that God keeps you all. Thank you all again today. And thank the rest of you for watching this week's edition of the Current Events class. Next week, we'll be back up again speaking with some of our students from Great Tomorrow's Middle School and ATLAH High School. And we'll look to see what the Lord does then. God bless you all, and thank you all again, and peace out.